When we fold our hands in prayer, it's a sign of great powerlessness, but also a sign of great power. Only in prayer do we become what we were always called to be, children of God, dependent totally on the Father of love and His mercy as found in His Son, Jesus, the suffering servant, and the Christ. When we pray, we find the strength to bear what we cannot bear, humanly speaking. When we ask the Lord to bear our cross, our burden, our sorrows with us, we are able to endure. Now, prayer has several levels. First, for us who are part of the people of God around the world, it makes us whole and holy, and it sustains and nurtures us on that great pilgrimage back to God. We pray for one another on a daily basis, and that prayer strengthens us as a group. It's not a lonely pilgrimage. It's not myself with God, but all of us together. And within Catholicism and within Orthodoxy, there's also a prayer for those who have died. Within Orthodoxy and Catholicism, going back to the time of Maccabees, there has been ancient tradition that says it's good to pray for the dead, to accompany them with our prayers as they move before the throne of God. And in this dark day for humanity, not just for the United States, we have to pray first and foremost for the victims of this act of terrorism, that they can go before the throne of God accompanied with our hopes, our dreams, our love. And then all the branches of Christianity pray for those who are grieving. Pray for those who are left behind. Pray for those who are in need of strength. All of us here know what grief's about. We've all lost people that we've loved. And we know how important prayer has been for us to get through those times of grief, but how important the prayers of all those who love us was for us in our most critical moments. And so we pray for the living. First, the victims that were not killed, but are suffering, that are trapped, that are confused, that the healing touch of God will be with them. And then we pray for all of their families, of those who died and those who are wounded or maimed, that they may be sustained in this time of shock, denial, anger, and grief. Our hearts are with them, and more importantly, our souls are united with them. The heart of humanity is bleeding at this moment, not just the heart of the American people, because people of decency around the globe grieve when there's been a grievous assault on the innocent for whatever the reasons may be. And so we pray for the families of the victims, the friends of the victims. We pray for humanity itself, which has been victimized. These acts make us ashamed of being human. Next, we should pray for those right now who are being heroes. For every victim there is today, there will come forth 100 or 1,000 heroes. Police, fire department people, hospital workers, ordinary citizens. Those who are on the scene doing what's possible in an impossible situation. We pray that they may have courage, strength, wisdom, and a spirit that will not falter. Even professionals like the police and the firemen, hospital workers, faced with such a catastrophe, know they need a miracle of God's grace to sustain them emotionally and humanly as they carry out their heroic work. So we pray for the emerging heroes in the midst of this catastrophe. We pray for them. Our hearts and minds and souls are united with theirs. Next, we have to pray for those around the world and in our country who will have to decide what a just response to the evil is. We have to pray not only for our own national leaders, President Bush, our Senate, and our Congress, but for the leaders of every country in the world. And we have to pray for the diplomats whose task is to find ways to resolve horrible conflicts. We have to pray that the perpetrators of this mass murder will be brought to human justice in accord with national and international law, because the greatness of the American spirit is that we are a people of law, a people of order, a people of justice. And so we want our response to be just, to be right, and to be accurate. And we want to see all of those who participated in this act directly or indirectly brought to human justice. But even if human justice fails, believers know that no one escapes the justice of God. And that's why disciples of Jesus never become burdened with bitterness and revenge that could sap them of their own trust in God and love of neighbor. We pray that law will prevail, justice will be done. But we also know that even if it isn't, as so often happens in this world, throughout the history of this world, the Lord will judge the human hearts of those who come before the throne. And those who had died in the attack, perpetrating the attack, are now facing a justice more horrific than any human justice could be. The justice of the God of love. And they're facing the throne of God simultaneously with their victims, whose lives were unjustly cut short, brutally ended through no fault of their own. And they're facing also the guardian angels of every victim, whose face was always towards God. And they have to answer to those angels as well. They also have to answer their own angels before the throne of God, who at every step prayed that they would not take this murderous step. And those prayers were not heeded. Those people who may have looked upon themselves as martyrs in the service of God would really find now that they were in service of the enemy camp, of the devil, the only one who rejoices in blood. We have to pray that the diplomats of the world and the political leaders of the world will find a way to bring justice to this situation, not simply for the future of America, a great nation that it is, but for the future of our species. Because if this is the way human conflict and disputes are resolved, then we'll face a future of a hell on earth more horrific than anything we've seen before in humanity's long history of blood and conflict. Because technology has made it possible for a small group to wreak enormous havoc. So this is a prayer for our species as well as our nation. The importance of this moment can't be overstated. This is going to affect the course of nations for a century or for a millennium. America, if it can muster its greatness, bring the people to justice, and do it in an orderly, righteous fashion, will show a light to the world that will shine for decade after decade after decade. We have to pray that that's the course we take, and that a message is sent to all others who, for whatever reason, would wreak havoc and death and mayhem on the innocents, that our species, not just our nation, will not tolerate this behavior. And those who do will have their name go down not as heroes, but go down in the history of humanity as infamous criminals, for that is indeed what they are. So it's the soul of our species that hangs in the balance at this moment. And how are we going to respond? No politician, no diplomat, no political leader is wise enough to know what to do. And so we come as believers from every faith, from every religious background, and we say, Lord, have mercy on us sinners. Show us the way in this time of darkness. A way that will lead not only our nation, the United States, forward, but humanity forward. That's the type of prayer we offer today. Not only for ourselves, our nation, but humanity itself. And we have to learn that the only way we learn how to be humane is following the path that God has set before us. A path that respects the commandments and respects life. A path that respects people who disagree with us, but nevertheless would never think of simply killing someone else because they have different values or different attitudes. We have to pray that the conscience of the world will be reformed because of this horrific event. And that people around the world will say, let's walk together a godly path. Otherwise, we will only have an ungodly future to look forward to. In every church throughout the Diocese of Youngstown, throughout North America, of every denomination, synagogues, mosques, people of goodwill are praying for humanity right now. Finally, we have to pray for the law enforcement agencies around the world, that these men and women will prevent crime as well as pursue criminals, and that the law enforcement agencies around the world will provide a stable place not only for neighborhoods, cities, countries, but for people around the world where law will rule rather than lawlessness. And we have to pray too for our military in the United States, that if called upon to defend the nation against these attacks, they will do it professionally, expertly. They will do it in accord with national and international law, that they will acquit themselves with the bravery that the American fighting man and woman has always been noted for. But they will acquit themselves within a moral context so that we can hold our heads high as an American citizenry, saying we will not respond in kind, but we'll respond in justice to the injustice that's been inflicted not only on American citizens, but all those citizens who are our guests, who were also killed in this horrific event. All those people from the citizens from every corner of the world, which goes through the trade towers, which travels on our planes, all those victims who died, that they too will be not forgotten, but remembered as part of this terrible day. We pray that our politicians, our military, and the politicians and the military of the world can do something wondrous for the sake of our species, humanity itself.